Hey, I don't have one of those pretty red squares that cost over $100, but what I have is this, and it cost me about $1. It's just MDF, and it took about 15 or 20 minutes to make. It is surprisingly accurate. I've got 30 inches of depth that way, 11 inches on both sides this way, so I have a good reference, and it is dead on. So I'll bring it over here and show you what I did, and then we'll build one. Alright, you don't need one of these, but it is a precision straight edge, and I just wanted to show you for this demonstration that this is perfectly flat. There's no wavering in this line, and it is straight. We'll throw this on here. And you can do this by feel, but let me get this right perfectly even. And this is going to be hard for you on camera to tell, but that is flush there. And I am flush there. There is no lip at all. That is dead on. Now, how do I know that line is square to this edge per se? And the way we know that is simply by the 3, 4, 5 rule. So if I were to take and measure up 4 inches, 3 inches this way, 4 inches this way, the angle right here would end up being 5 inches. But we're gonna expand that, and you just multiply it. So I'm gonna take 7. So now we're gonna take the 7 times 3 is 21 and measure over. And I've already done that here, but I'm exactly 21 inches this way. Now we're gonna go 7 times 4, which is 28. We got that right on. So now I'm 21 inches over here, I'm 28 inches over here. So what is 5 times 7? 35. I know the distance from these 2 points, if this is indeed square, is going to be 35 inches. So at this end, we'll move the camera up again. Just for accuracy, I'm going to set this right on the 1 inch mark instead of relying on the tip here. It's probably accurate, it's a good tape, but we're going to go measure from 1 inch. See if I can do this without getting in the way. Right on 1 inch on that end, so I should be 35 inches here. And I don't know if you can see that, but that's 36 minus 1 inch, and that's 35 right on the money. So I know that this corner right here is actually square. So I've got a combination square. It really doesn't matter the depth right here. This part isn't necessary, but I like to have it in so I can have a good long reference edge when I lay this edge on. So we're going to move this in. It's about 10 inches. I've still got my line at 28 inches. For accuracy, I'm going to lay a line there, lay a line there. So now I'll move over to the table saw and rip these down. You could make these any length or width you wanted. I wouldn't go much narrower than maybe 3 inches because there would be some flex on that MDF side to side, and you wouldn't want that. So I'm going a little wider than that just to ensure the stability of it. Okay, now that I have those strips cut, they're both 5 inches wide and the lower one is 29 inches long. So if I center the 5 inches, that gives me 12 inches exactly on either side of this board. So I'll go ahead and put a mark at 12 inches on the lower board, and that way I can line it up with a big reference piece that I'm going to lay out with. So then I like to use double-sided tape at the very tip of this to hold it very securely. And I'm going to do this very awkwardly apparently for the camera, but I managed to get that double-sided tape down, and it just takes a small square to hold it in place. And now with that tape on there, I can hover my board over top of it without touching, and then use a utility knife and get it centered exactly on my reference line. Push the board up against it and then lower it onto the tape and then adhere it down, and that way I know I'm exactly on my reference line. And now that's not going anywhere. So now I'll use the knife again on the lower reference line, and I'll get it right on the money in that line, and then register the board cleanly against it, and that way I know I'm perfectly accurate on that reference line. It would probably help if I put some glue on this joint first, so I'm going to very gently slide this back end out and try to get some glue on this. So once I get some glue on there, I'm going to very gently lift up the back end of this and slide it back in, making sure not to disturb the tape end of it because I don't want to mess with that accuracy. And then I'll use my knife again to register this board over cleanly, and I should be very square. Because I'm impatient, I'm not going to clamp this up. I'm just going to shoot some 18 gauge nails into this thing, and then I'll let it dry after that. But otherwise, it's good. So now after about an hour I came back, and to show you that this is indeed accurate, I'll move this over and set it on this square edge that we already determined was square and lay it on there. I like to do it by feel versus sight. You can really get a lot of sensitivity in your fingers and get that lined up perfectly. I know it's really hard to tell on camera, but this thing is dead on. It's flush at the top and at the bottom. And just like that, you have an accurate square out of scrap that only cost you $1 or $2 to make in less than an hour. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.